Morning. So we'll jump right into it. We got Barberry, one of the new proven winners. So this one is Mini Maroon. So this one here is a brand new one out there, zone 4 on up. And, you know, Barberry are somewhat adaptable. You can really put them out there in different types of soil conditions. Proven Winners is calling this non-invasive, but you have to be a little careful with that. That's what Proven Winners is saying, but that is not recognized by states that say that barberry is invasive. Okay, so it is not certified by any state. Now that is a little different with Crimson Cutie. When Crimson Cutie comes out in June for us, Crimson Cutie is recognized, certified, non-invasive and sterile for New York and Connecticut for Crimson Cutie by those states. So that's why I put on there non-seeding, but not certified. Okay, so but it's a great looking plant, nice, compact, got a good shape. Nice looking plant. We like the way it grows. You can see there today photo off to the right, and they're ready to go. And then off the next one there is Mini Saffron. That's the yellow in the series. Go ahead and go to that one. There we go. And you can see there it's starting to break out. It's even more dwarf, more compact. You know, and what I noticed last year, the foliage stays very clean. It's got good resistance to bacterial spotting. You can see there we're starting to, the leaves are popped out on it, looking good. Now they're not making any claims on this one as far as being non-invasive or sterile at all. So I'm not sure if they're going to in the future or not, but they're not making any claims at all with this one. It's just a nice, compact gold barberry. So anyways, I like it because of the shape, because of how compact it is, and because of its disease resistance, clean foliage. I think that's a real winner going forward with this one. So take a look at that. Next is Forsythia Show Off. You can see here, we've talked about this several times, but we want to keep talking about it. You can see a today photo off to the right. We got some color showing. So I sent an email out earlier. Hopefully you got to see the photos, but we're going to continue to progress forward. We're looking at 70 degrees or so today, tomorrow. We're going to see these flowers continue to pop out. So spring is here. It's time to get these out, get them on the lots. The claim to fame with Show Off is it blooms on new and old wood. Doesn't matter. You could have a 3-inch caliper on that thing and it will set a bloom on it. And that's what's great about this plant. We have some in the landscape that are 10, 12 years old, and they still set a bloom at the base of the plant. That's what's great about this plant. So next, we have Blue Maid in a 10-gallon. You can see here just the size of the plant, just the impact, full to the bottom. Got you know, really nice glossy foliage on that plant. You know. We get a little tiny white flower, but you know the big thing is a red a berry in the fall, all throughout the winter. You can even kind of see in there. There's still some remnants of them right now. Those will the birds will continue to pick them off, and they'll fall off here. So these are awesome looking plants, great for instant impact. I just like them because right now they still retain that glossy foliage all through the winter. Next, we'll go to some B&B, Cupressina, or some people call it Cupressiana. This is a columnar Norway spruce, very hardy plant, stays very tight. great tall plant for a kind of a compact area. You know, they can max out as high as 60 feet and still stay fairly compact. So great for kind of a large building where you got a corner area, maybe an inside corner, you know, and will just stay within its realm and not get out of hand. So next is Taxus Everlow. You can see here we grow these in pot and pot. We got our spec is 18-inch, but we're really pushing out. We're feathering out the 24-inch there. If you got anybody looking for ward eye, Everlow is you know, a great sub for ward eye. They can kind of sub back and forth. A low spreader, that's what ward eye is. Very adaptable plant. It can really go in a lot of different type of areas. Remember on our Taxus and all of our plants up here at Huron, we put tall star, beaded tall star in our mix. That makes it so black vine weevil grubs do not get a foothold in there. So that keeps it so our soil stays nice and clean, so we don't have grubs chewing on our roots. So that's why our Taxus always looks so nice and healthy compared to some of our competition out there where they tend to yellow out over the summer. That's usually because they have grubs in their mix or in their B&B that are feeding on the roots and causing some stress. So we make sure we avoid that by adding that extra expensive tall star. Go ahead. Next, should be our last photo, is Taxus repandens. We really like this one because it's kind of an arching spreader, you know, low grower. It's more graceful in its spread. Really like it. This one, though, you got to be a little more careful. It really likes well-drained soils. It's not as adaptable on its soils, so you have to be a little bit more careful with the site selection on that, but still a great Taxus to use. You still do the same trimmings and the same type of care as most of the other Taxus, but we have several of those available as well. And we're about right at spec there, just a little bit bigger, but a real nice looking crop, real uniform looking crop, as you can see from the photo. Now, the last thing I'd like to talk about is kind of azaleas in general, because we are starting to crack that bud and show some color. Remember, azaleas do not ship well when they are opened out and starting to flower. I would anticipate these things to be in a pretty good flower starting around the 29th, 30th to the 1st, which is coming up pretty quick here, just a couple short weeks away. They're going to ship the best next week and the week of the 22nd. Those azaleas really need to be on those loads. So there is urgency, not just with the Karens, but all azaleas in general. You do not want to be shipping those azaleas that week of the 29th. If you have to, but when those azaleas are out and you're banging them around on trucks, you're taking the life out of that flower. Now, if you get that azalea shipped while that bud is tight, you still have a lot of life in that flower. That flower is going to last all the way into mid-May. But if you're shipping that azalea, you know, that week of the 29th, you're taking life out of that flower, and that's something that you need to be communicating to your customer. That's precious life that you're taking out of that flower that customer can be having, that stretches that bloom time into mid-May. That truck, that loading process, that bouncing around the country, that unloading process at the customer moving it around, those touches take precious time out of that flower, where if it was just sitting there spaced out on the lot, you know, minutes of handling takes away days of sitting there looking good. what we do is Syringa. Syringa get a disease called Pseudomonas. Pseudomonas is everywhere. I don't care where it is. And the damn things are born with it. Everybody has this issue. You have to, the plant is triggered by cold, wet nights or frost. We found that a lot of the customers don't protect the plant from that or spray for it. So what we're doing is we do that here in the nursery, and we've talked to a lot of our peers out there. They've been doing the same thing for years. They hold the plant in their nurseries. They do the sprays. They keep the plant protected, and then they release it to the customer. I would anticipate we get another copper application here, and it looks like the temps should balance out a little better. We'll be releasing those next week. It's a critical point. Right now, the bud is pushing. This is when Pseudomonas will attack the plant, and this is what happens. You ship the plant, the customer sits it on their lot. They think it's fairly dormant, and it can handle it. If the plant lays wet on a wet, cold night, or it frosts on that pushed out bud, the Pseudomonas attacks it, and it won't kill it. What it will do is it will distort the foliage, or it will get in there and kill one of the branches. And as soon as it does it, it makes it non-saleable. And when it makes it non-saleable, we go into a credit issue. So this is what we're doing. This is why we're holding them. Applications of copper really helps. So that's what we're doing. I'm anticipating Wednesday. As long as we get a favorable forecast, we'll know that probably Monday. And we'll be communicating with you early next week on what's going to happen there.
So leading off, there's 2 Fagus in this week. These are all B&B plants. Sylvatica pendula is just European weeping beech. This is greenleaf beech. This is a very large specimen. You can see listed as 30 to 50 foot high. Depending upon what you do with that plant, some of them will naturally grow a little higher on their own. Depends how you train them in the younger stages, and this will get 20 to 40 feet wide. So this is a rather spectacular plant at maturity. The other thing I didn't list here that I was going to put a picture in and didn't really like the picture I saw, this plant has some nice bark features in the winter. It's a silver gray, so that's another thing to look at. We've alluded to on Fagus in the past, they do like a well-drained condition. They do not like to be transplanted, so once they're in where you want them, we'll kind of leave them alone. Hardiness on this is not a concern. It's 4 to 7. Most beech do not like a lot of heat, so you'll see them at zone 7, zone 8. They don't go too much further south than that. Next is the purple form. This is Purpurea pendula. Do not sell this as being the same size as greenleaf. It's only going to be 5 to 12 foot tall. It's a lot more compact, a lot slower growing. It does give you that nice dark purple leaf. The 5 to 12 foot in height is going to depend upon how you train that plant. As you can see here, once it gets a little more mature, it just kind of cascades from the top. Pretty much everything pertains to this, just like the other one. Most of these varieties, when you get into name varieties on beech as well as weepers, are going to be grafted on Fagus sylvatica. So almost all your soil conditions, et cetera, are going to be the same. And once again, this is a B&B plant. Threw in a couple American Beauty plant selections. This is Penstemon Huskers Red. You can see the Willoway picture. It's got a little bit better picture as far as the darkness of the leaf. This plant is in late summer, so it will green out. As you see here, the landscape plants, you can see it's got the dark red stem and a little more of a purpling effect. This plant will do better as far as color goes if it's left in full sun. And then the flowers themselves are a white, you can call it a blush pink when they first open. You can see that in the buds, but they pretty much fade to a white. This plant's a little bit taller. It's going to be 2 to 3 feet high, 1 to 2 feet wide, so it's going to be more of a backdrop or middle in a perennial border situation. If you put it up front, make sure everything that's behind it's going to be 2 to 3 foot. Prefer medium to dry conditions as far as that goes, and then also this plant's good for butterflies, bees, hummingbirds, etc. It gives you both the flower and the foliage color, so it has multiple facets as far as what you want to see. Common name on penstemon is bearded tongue, and that has to do with the way the flowers appear. Rudbeckia, little gold star, is another one that's in the AB program. It's very similar to Goldsturm. It's just a more dwarf selection. This is only going to be in the 1 to 2 foot high and wide. This plant's always performed very well for us. We don't seem, for the most part, to see as many leaf disease issues as what we see with Goldsturm. It still is a little bit of a problem, but it seems to be a little bit better. You see it puts on quite a display. These will typically start blooming midsummer, and they will continue until fall, but it's a really nice floral display throughout that season, and it also does a good job of pulling in butterflies and bees, and the birds will actually eat the seeds once the seeds are mature in the fall, in the winter. Solidago fireworks. Solidago, for those who don't know, it's goldenrod. Goldenrod's a big plant that you see along the roadsides in late fall, late summer, early fall. This plant, if you expect this to be in bloom in June or July, this is going to give you your color for the fall. You can see up here, they typically bloom late August, September, and into October. This plant's a little smaller than actual goldenrod. It's only going to be 2.5 to 3 foot high and wide. Gives you a little bit different presentation than what goldenrod does, a little more floriferous as far as that display goes. It does prefer full sun and a medium, and will tolerate a little bit of wetness. This plant's a little more forgiving, and like I said, you see it along the roadside, so you know there's a lot of subsoil there, but does provide a lot of fall color. It's going to be zone 4 to 8 as well. Tiarella running tapestry. This plant, like it says, it is running. It's a foam flower. Allegheny foam flower is a common name. This plant will spread. It's not real aggressive on the spreading, but you can see underneath this, it's probably a maple tree. It does present itself very well as far as in flower. A little bit of a yellowish green as far as the main color on the stems, and you have that red veining. So it gives you a little bit of a color contrast, especially in a shaded area. This plant prefers to be in the shade. Don't put it out in full sun. It's good for butterflies and hummingbirds, and it just does a nice little splash of color in a shaded area. Blue fescue we threw in. We talked about blue fescue in the past. This is the best time of year for blue fescue. It is a cool season grass. This plant will go dormant in the summer, so keep that in mind, especially if you have it in containers on someone's lot. If it starts to brown out, it's not dead. Back off on the water. Try and give it a little bit of shade in a little cooler environment than what it's sitting in. But this is the best time of year as far as color. You can see we've got good supply of them in the house here, all pretty much about the same. Summer Crush is a new plant there we go, that we put in last year. From everything I've seen, production-wise, this is a great plant for being forced. It requires very minimal amount of PGR. As you can see here, it's got a nice flower count. We have 2-gallon and 3-gallon back in 3B greenhouse. Almost all picture-perfect plants. They do a great job. They seem to hold up very well. This is a picture of the nooks. Just a couple overall shots. You see they did rather well for us this year. So we rolled a fair amount of the nooks on. There are some varieties that aren't on, just as in the past. We walk this once a week. We only put in what we feel is good. The nooks are one of the few crops that we will actually look on and put it on by percentage. So in the case of a crop where there's 50%, we'll put that 40-50% on just so you can fill that in and let it go. The other thing that we rolled in, chick charms. You can see they filled out really nicely here. There's a lot of little chicks. We also rolled on S8, S9. See the buds are nice little green buds. They're probably 2 weeks out. Remember, this is a plant that's targeted for Mother's Day, so as nice as what these are, and we're rolling the rest of it, we thought we'd go ahead and put this in. That takes a little bit of pressure off of you guys as far as, okay, we're in flower, let's get them all shipped in 1 week. So keep that in mind. And talking with Bill, because he was with us when we did this, he should have updated photos on most of this stuff by now for you. These plants will all have the nomenclature on there to give them protection below 40 degrees. Most of these houses are kept somewhere from 40, 45 on up to 60 degrees. Lavender's at the 60 degrees. The hydrangea, we've actually dropped the temperature down to cool them off, so they're a little bit more tolerant, per se, of the cold. So these are just general pictures that I had Dave take so everyone gets a rough idea of what we're shipping. Iris Germanica, if you can go back, please. We put these on last year. We waited till we have flower spikes. We really would like to see these leave at this point before those flower spikes really pop up. If you look in, it's almost dead center of the picture, down a little bit to the left. A little bit right, there we go. That actually is a yellow flower bud, so they are starting to spike up. The problem that Keith's going to have with shipping these once these flowers are up is those spikes get up, they'll shoot up another foot, and it's very, very precarious to get these. So this is the best time to get these on the customer's lot, and then they'll have the full advantage of these as they start to open and bloom. So Nepeta, there again, anything you see in here that's pot full, David's got it rolled on. I believe he told me it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 165,000 pots got rolled on. Aurelia Sun King. And then there's some Achilea here. And if you can go back, please. In the backdrop up against that wall in the upper right hand is the Dicentra spectabilis. That's bare root production that we buy in this spring. They are rooted to the bottom of the pot, so we went ahead and rolled those on. That's a little bit earlier than what we normally put them on. There you go. You see they're starting to spike up. They're just starting to flower. So, peonies, if you can blow that up a little bit, you can see the flower buds in there. This is the material that we got in last fall. You can see flower buds right there at the tip. One of the things that we've changed on this plant, it has gotten a little gangly on us in the past, a little bit taller. These were all been treated at least twice now with PGRs to keep them nice and short, give you a little stockier plant. So these flowers will probably start opening by next week, I would imagine.
Did these roll, Jeff?
Yeah, those are all on. There are some bigger ones in the back. Those will be left over from last year, so you will see some of that mixed in as well. One of the things I wanted to point out here, these are the perennial peonies. These are the ones that are outside. These typically flower around Memorial Day. This is how they're going to look this time of year. So they're not going to look like the tree peonies that are inside. Ideally with these, we take that plastic off just as they start to poke through the rice hulls to keep them nice and short. If we leave that plastic on, they're going to stretch and be about 3 foot tall and then fall over when we go to ship them. So this brings these plants on naturally, just like they are outside. Haven't really looked at home, but I believe they're starting to just poke through. So these are only a couple days ahead of natural season here in Ohio.